Alrighty, so in the previous lesson, students were looking at their ethical considerations, and here they're going to look at their procedures and figure out what they're going to do. There's a Kahoot, just look at the basic requirements. I had a hard time coming up with consolidation fun quizzes, unlike the other units for the IA, and also think, it's mainly just them getting some work time, but the Kahoot's a classic, kids always like it, but feel free to skip it if you don't like it. Right, so this lesson they should have a summary of their procedures and standardized instructions. Ideally that would be written out either in a PowerPoint slide or a document that goes into their appendix. A note on summary procedures: do they need it in the body of their report? Now this is a common question. Nowhere in the guide do we really get an idea about this, so I would use your best judgment. This year my students did not do it in the body of their report, and I actually found their reports were the worst for it. So I'm definitely from now on going to have them do a summary of procedures and put it in the body of their report. If word count is an issue, I'm going to get them just to copy it out and add it as an appendix. But I would definitely get them to write out the summary of their procedures and what they did. And the reason for that is it helps, in the body of the report, it helps to contextualize the rest of their explanations. And I think it helps the students at least clarify in their mind, what the steps of their experiment were. So I definitely would recommend that they do it, even though it's not clear if it's a requirement or not. Yeah, so, and when I did my own, when I wrote the example for myself, I found actually that I intuitively wanted to have the summary there because it made it easier to explain the other parts. So I would recommend it. There's a hook in 7.2. This is 2 lessons away. You can copy and paste it here if you'd rather do it in this lesson instead. Then I would get students to, this is group work. This is time for them to figure out their procedures, what they're going to do. And you can tell them, don't worry about things like, they walk in the room, they sit down, they look at the board. It's what they're trying to explain is, and remind them that the purpose of their report is so someone can replicate their study. So we should read their procedures and comprehend how they manipulated the independent variable and how they measured it, and how they followed ethical guidelines. I think if they get those 3 things, that's the key for their procedures, and it should be really clear. And they can test if their procedures are clear by maybe swapping it with someone who's not in their group, and then getting the person to read it, and then explain it back to them. Oh yeah, you did this, right? And if they can do that, then their procedures are clear. I would definitely get them to be writing their own notes to avoid plagiarism issues. This year, again, the first time around, I tried to do the workbook as a digital version, and I had 2 issues of plagiarism, one really massive issue. And I've never had that before in the IA, and I'm not sure if it was why that is, but yeah, it was an issue. So a couple of pointers: definitely be using Turnitin if you're not. Really helpful. That helped me actually pick up the second instance of plagiarism I missed the first time around. And also I would get students to be writing the workbook as by hand and using notes. And because that way they're going to have, I saw one of the issues of plagiarism was a student just copying and pasting in the results of the original study, a whole paragraph, never comprehending what they actually meant. But if they're taking it from a digital form onto notes in the workbook, it might just help avoid that. All right. Yeah, so this time here is just for them to figure out their procedures, what they're going to do. Now, this might not take a whole lesson, and then of course they can start creating the materials and to get ahead. So this is the stuff that they're going to need. And so this could be homework, or this could be, for the fast finishers if they've done their procedures. You could also use this as time if they finish early to go back and finish what they've done and what they haven't finished in other parts of the workbook. But yeah, the next lesson is about creating materials. So, they can start doing that. Anything specific that they need for their study. Alrighty, yeah, and that's what we're going to do next.